In April 2020, during the lockdown, I was very touched when hotels at the seaside switch on their lights in a desperate attempt to remind how much the coronavirus has affected the tourism industry. Those places are usually crowded with people both during the day and at night, and to see that emptiness was truly striking. Today, I want to share some touching stories. My name is Andrea Savorani Neri. I'm a photographer, a video maker and journalist. At the time of the lockdown, because of the coronavirus, I was working almost every day, meeting people. Some of them, they were on the front line, like doctors. Some other were just ordinary people telling me how was their life every day. A couple of weeks ago, I've been to a small village called Cadefabri, and I've met the owner of a cinema. He has been working in this cinema since he was 19 years old, now he's 46. The first time Morris Donini entered this cinema was simply to work at cleaning the hall between films. And then, later on, his love for the cinema was so big that he became the owner of the cinema. There are 390 places, seats in this cinema. Even if it's a small village with 1,000 inhabitants. Because of the lockdown and because of the pandemic, the cinema is closed. He is not allowed to get anybody inside the cinema. But every day he goes there, he turns on the lights, he puts one film and he sits alone in the theater looking at the film. This is a way to tell the community that the cinema still exists and that at the end of the pandemic, at the end of the crisis, he will open again. That's probably one of the moments that I was emotionally touched the most during this year. I'm usually based in Paris, but I'm originally from Italy. So at the beginning of March, when basically Italy was going to decide a lockdown, I was scheduled to come here to Italy for a job. And so I left Paris, saying goodbye to my kids, sure that I was coming back in 15 days. But then all my flights were cancelled, so that was the hardest part for me, because I haven't seen my kids during 1 month and a half. I did lots of filming and interviews in the past 9 months. At first I was quite nervous. I was afraid of bringing the virus home to my parents or to my brother. I still remember the first story I covered, people infected being tested in Bologna. Emilia-Romagna, my region, was under lockdown, but I was free to move and work as a journalist, showing my professional card to the police in case of controls. I wore a mask, brought hand sanitizer, kept distance with my interviewees. After I came back home, I disinfected all my equipment, taking pictures and filming in daylight, editing photos and cutting footage at night. It has been a quite intense period of time. But as a journalist, you always trust that your work can be useful in some way. One of the first stories I covered during the lockdown here in Italy was at a hospital, an emergency hospital. The director of the emergency care unit, Rodolfo Ferrari, told me that he had been working non-stop for over a month and that the hospital was full of COVID patients. Now, in December, the situation in this region remains serious and is even getting worse. And Dr. Ferrari is still overwhelmed with work.
Sono ancora completamente preso dall'attività sia organizzativa che quella clinica e assistenziale. È un arrivederci appena possibile quando i ritmi saranno un pochino calati e la situazione sarà un pochino meno complessa da gestire.
2020 has been one of the most particular and one of the most intense here of my work, of my job, working every day on the same stories, always talking, always thinking, always looking at the problem of the coronavirus. Hopefully in 2021 there will be other stories to cover other than the coronavirus.